Hey everybody, Zach Ditmars here for Fish Talk Magazine. You are tuned in to another installment of Live with Lenny. Thanks for being with us here today. You know, time is the only thing we really have, and you are giving it to us right now, and we appreciate that. So we got a lot to discuss tonight. Tonight is our Annapolis Boat Show special. The boat show kicked off earlier today. Before we jump into that, I just want to tell you guys about a few upcoming events. I'm going to do a screen share here for you. The Lucky and Blessed Fishing Group is putting on their very first rockfish tournament. It runs starting today through October 31st. I think it's only $40 to enter, and it's the best stringer of rockfish throughout the month of October. These guys do a great job supporting underprivileged folks, and they've taken out, I think they took out like 1,000 people fishing this year. So just your support helps them in their program, and you can find them at labfishing.org. We also got an Annapolis CCA banquet coming up at the end of the month. It's a great time. Team Fish Talk will be there with a table, and it's just a really good time. We got live entertainment from Sean Kimbrough and friends this year. That's new and exciting, and great food being catered by Metropolitan here in Annapolis. So all very good stuff. I've been trying to reach Lenny, but he had boat show duty today. So we're going to wait a few minutes for Lenny before we get started here. We're going to be giving away the Great Chesapeake Invasive Count winners for the month of September. So stay tuned for that. And we also have a few other announcements as well. Let's see if I can get Lenny on the horn here. Lenny, where's Lenny? He's usually very punctual. You know, I'm always the one who's, late to the boat and everything.
People, we are coming to you live, well, almost live, from the Annapolis Boat Show. There was a little bit of flooding last night, but that's okay, because we got lots of boats. Let's see what's hot and what's new. Here's a new option on the Grady White 386. You can now get it with this aft-facing mezzanine-style seat, so when you're trolling, you can just kick back and watch those baits. And yes, it is comfy. I wandered on down to North Point's display to check out this Mag Bay 38. This is another new model. And when it comes to fit and finish and sheer luxury, it's going to be really hard to beat this boat. It is still a fish boat, but ooh, there's lots of places to kick back and relax. Like I said, though, the real story behind this boat is this just flat out a work of art. Look at the T-top pipework, for example. This is not aluminum. This is actually stainless steel. And there's like 200 hours of work into just creating these supports with these beautiful arches. Look at the woodwork in the ladder backs. It is just gorgeous stuff. If you want a fish boat that really is a work of art, then the Mag Bay is exactly what you're looking for. Here we're on the Formula 387 CCF. This is their fishing boat, and what's new is we now have it available with Mercury Racing 500s triples. Now that takes this boat up into the mid-60s. You know, another little interesting feature, you get the little grill in the back. I don't know about this burger though. This, people, is truly the belle of the ball, the boat of the show. This is a brand new Phenom 43, and it's got just about everything you could ever want, from this tower to teak ladder backs to quad 400 horsepower outboards. Yes, that's right. With the tower, this boat does in the upper 60s. If you don't get the tower, you're looking at a 70-mile-an-hour boat. I just don't know that there is any center console in this boat show here or just about anywhere else that's going to stack up to this one. Now we're on a Sportsman 321 Heritage at the Riverside Marine display. This Heritage series gives you the seats in the back and also this mezzanine seat right here, so you can sit facing aft. And in the past, the Heritage series didn't get quite this big. This is now the biggest option, the 321, brand new model. Now here for you Power Cat fans, we have an American Custom Cat 17. Looks to me like a cool little fishing boat. I would love to get this thing out on the water and see how the twin hulls handle the chop. I'm betting this would be a fun boat. Now, this is not a new boat. I'm on a Maycraft 20 Cape Classic here, but your standard issue center consoles, folks, are everywhere. Pretty much any brand you want to check out, any size, it's going to be here at the show. Now, I don't know if you folks have plans for the weekend, but if you do, it might be time to change them. The boat show is a great place to be, even when it gets a little wet.
Oh, thank you, Lanny. Let's see if he's back to the office. Let's see if he's back from the boat show. You back from the boat show, Lanny?
Yes, here I am. Zach,
it's about time you got back.
You fooled me with that intro. I was sitting here saying, "What? Wait, what? What? I'm in. What are you doing?" Nice job. But that all was today at the boat show. The boat show is going on now, people. And when it comes to boat shows, I'm saying Annapolis's Powerboat Show is vastly underrated, because it's true that most of the major builders try and do their big introductions for the new model year at the Florida shows, but we get some cool new boats here, boats that no one's ever seen before. So it's pretty darn fantastic. Several of those models that we took a look at today, no one in the Mid-Atlantic has seen these boats at all yet, and they got a lot of really cool new features that are worth talking about. I'm sure some of them are going to start popping up on boats all over the place, but it really was a good time. And don't let that flooding fool you, folks. That's over and done with. That was earlier today. By the time we left, that water had pretty much receded, and the weather looks absolutely fantastic for the next few days here. I think it's going to be pretty spectacular. I do also want to point out, everybody, we may be a little disjointed tonight. We have spent all day pounding the docks at the show. I know Zach literally at 5:57 was tacking together some of the last little pieces of that. So thank you for your Herculean effort there, Zach.
Do what I can.
So we're going to give away some prizes, folks, as we always do for the invasive species winners. Before we get there, I do have two quick announcements I want to touch on. And then we'll get into some of the stuff about the boats, and then we'll talk about some of the current bites going off right now. But I want to mention we have some kind of breaking news, not normally our gig, but I literally just got this email the other day. Governor Moore announced a new agreement with Exelon and Conowingo, and we know that's been a long-term battle, right? Everybody's been kind of fighting over just what they're going to do up there at Conowingo, because it's, about full of silt. So it's interesting. They're valuing the agreement at where is it? I think it was $240 million. Don't quote me on that because I don't see it at the moment. But it's $340 million. There it is, $340 million. Now the one thing I see in this press release that I'm not totally thrilled at is that it says it makes a pathway to dredging. Doesn't say dredging will be performed, and we all know that's very expensive, and that's really kind of what needs to happen in order for the water coming down the river to be able to settle out before going over the dam. Doesn't say dredging has been set or confirmed. It says, and I'm quoting, a pathway to dredging. So let's keep our fingers crossed as we learn more about this, but certainly is interesting to hear, they are working on it. I did also want to mention, for you folks who've been following the Discovery Village issue, the loss of the boat ramp there, and last month we did a whole episode on our loss of access. Discovery Village is a great example. That ramp was supposed to be usable by the public for decades. Instead, they closed it up, sold the place off. Oh, whoops, sorry. Too bad for you boaters. There will be a meeting. It is at the Deal Library on Saturday at 10 o'clock. Saturday, 10 o'clock, Deal Library. So if you're in the area and you're interested in finding out what's going on with that boat ramp, putting in your 2 cents on how you feel about this ramp going away, and perhaps, talking about how much we need to preserve this sort of access, that's a meeting you might want to go to. I will not be able to be there because I'll be right back at the boat show. I think you and me, Zach, we're going to be there the next 3 days, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And we're Fish Talk, we're 8 years old now, and Prop Talk magazine celebrating its 20th year, and we're having a little happy hour on Friday evening. So if you're at the show, come by. We'll have some cake and beer. What else can you do to celebrate 20 years of Chesapeake Bay boating?
And come by for the party. And hey, folks, if you're at the show, come by and say hi. We have a booth. It's right where the harbor master office used to be, right at the main entrance there. And come on and chit chat. We're going to be down there. Zach will be there quite a bit. I'll be there quite a bit. And we hope to say hi.
I think you're forgetting something.
Oh boy, what did I forget?
You are giving two.
Oh, I have a seminar. I'm giving a seminar. Thank you, Zach. Good golly. I'm actually doing it both tomorrow from 2 to 2:45 and on Saturday, 2 to 2:45. I will be speaking at the seminar tent, which is all the way on the other side of the show. So I get to hike all the way up there. We'll be talking lake tackle jigging for fall rockfish. And I hope folks will come on by and sit down and listen in. And I'll give away a little secret hint right now. I will be giving out some prizes. So come on by, free prizes, people. Speaking of free prizes, if I haven't forgotten anything else, I think it's time to give some stuff away, Zach.
Let's do it.
What do we got? Hey, it's the Great Chesapeake Invasives Count, CCA Maryland, Conservation Coastal Association of Maryland, puts on this, I guess you could call it a tournament event. I don't know. It's been going year-round this year. And if you register at ccamd.org, is that a slash or a backslash?
//
Count. It's free. And then all you do is you take a picture on a ruler of your blue cat, flathead cat, snakehead, your invasive species, and then send it on in. You're automatically entered into this prize drawing. And what they do is they're using this information on where these fish are, how big they are, and they're turning it over to the scientists. So you're helping, you're performing citizen science as you do this, and it's free, and you win stuff. So it's pretty darn cool. Now, if you open up the fish and take a picture of its stomach contents, you get another entry. And that's, of course, the scientists also want to know what these fish are eating. So pretty cool stuff. And Zach, who's our first big winner of the night? George Woodford. You got a cool one, man. The 13-quart Engel dry box. Engel makes good stuff. Congratulations, George. Lillian Shun, congratulations. You got a 19-quart dry box. Very nice. Very nice. And Ted Karski. Ted won again. He got the cocktail tumbler kit. I remember Ted won a while back, I don't know, a couple months ago. And then we went fishing. And I tell you what, Ted is, him and his wife are just a ball to fish with. They're a ton of fun. And Ted was so kind. He brought a CCA fillet knife for me to say thanks for going fishing. They're quality folks, and it's a ton of fun. And Ted, I'm so glad to see you've won again. Who we got next, Zach? John Britt, you won the Marucci's. And don't forget, if this style isn't to your liking, it's not a problem. What you want is a gift card. You get to choose which pair of sunglasses you would like. And these are some sweet sunglasses. So, John, congrats. Richard Barrett, you got the Toadfish dry box. Now, that'll come in handy if you got a center console. I mean, for real. Because we know how wet and bounced around stuff gets on the boat. Even if you don't, hey, that's a cool prize. Congratulations, Richard. New Upper Bay prize. Oh, remind me about this, Zach. I remember this from last time.
Right. So basically, if you're fishing Upper Bay, that's looks like basically Edgemere. So like what's that? Bush River up all the way up to Susquehanna Flats and to the Susquehanna True. Anything you log in the month of September, you're going to win a special prize. And I think last month, he submitted like 50 fish or something. Ted Karski, you won again.
Congratulations.
Because I guess,
Holy mackerel.
the Upper Bay invasive counters aren't really super active. So you guys in the Upper Bay, get active. You got some cool stuff. But wait, there's more.
Ooh.
For September, in addition to the Doctorman's Lore Pack, you can win a Blackstone 22 tabletop griddle. That's like $180 retail price.
Wait, do you mean in October? You said September.
Yeah, we're in yeah, that's what
October.
I meant. Yeah, whatever.
October.
It was September yesterday. So give me some credit, all right?
Well, now I got to tell you, Ted mentioned we were fishing that what they've been catching. He lives up north, up way up north on the Upper Bay. Hey, John, congrats. And he mentioned to me that in many of the areas he's fishing close to home, it is blue cat after blue cat after blue cat, and he is catching just a ton of them, one after the next after the next. And some areas are becoming like that. I mean, it really is getting kind of crazy just how thick those fish can be.
Yeah, well. Yeah, so anyway, free to participate. You just create an Angler account and head on over to that. Well, that very first slide has it on there. Just head on over to ccamd.org/count. Hey, just do it. And if you're out fishing, you catch an invasive, log it. You might win some cool prizes.
We got to tell folks, because I got an email after last month's episode from someone who was like, well, how do I get my prize? How do they get their prize?
Ah, yes. Well, that was at the bottom of there. If you just go to CCA and go to the invasive count winner link, and they should also be reaching out to you guys via email as well.
Yeah. But if you go to the website, you can find it on there. You just click. It's like a little email form you fill out, and you get your prize, your free prize.
Yeah.
All right, rocking, cool. Okay. So I think that takes care of all our announcements and the winners and everything. Before we go to the fishing report, we thought we kind of flip things around, since the hot news right now is the boat show and the new boats and the cool new stuff we're seeing on them. So Zach, take us on to our first boat here.
All right. So I think the very first boat was the Grady.
You can go in any order. Doesn't matter.
All right.
Any order. Just throw a boat pick up there. We're going to look at boats. There she is, the Canyon 386. So the 386 has been in existence for a while. What they did, Grady heard from a lot of customers that they wish they had a big, poofy, comfy seat facing aft. So it does kind of double duty as a bait watching seat, and also just as a comfort feature. And folks who are familiar with Grady's are going to know that, generally speaking, they're fishing boats, but they take great pains when it comes to comfort aboard. They want everybody to be comfortable aboard. They want it to be a good family boat. And so what they did here was they actually got a lot of customer feedback saying they wanted that seat. So they added it as an option. Originally, this was a tackle station. You can still get this as completely a tackle station, but optionally, you can get this also with this aft-facing mezzanine seat. I did find it very comfortable. I would love to have it. What about losing the tackle? Of course, there's always a trade-off, right? Everything in a boat is a trade-off. But the good news here is this unit is large enough. You've got those 4 drawers at the bottom. So you've still got a ton of room for tackle. I really, after being on the boat and looking at the size of those drawers and the nature of them, I don't think you're going to have any shortage of storage space with this sort of arrangement. And we're seeing these aft-facing seats on center consoles more and more often. Normally, they're referred to as mezzanine seats, and they're kind of taking a page out of the playbook of the big convertible offshore boats in that regard, right? They would build what they call a mezzanine at the front of the cockpit so you can sit down comfortably and look aft. So these are generally, we're seeing that as sort of the marketing term that's taken over. They're calling it a mezzanine seat. I sort of hesitate when using that term because it's not a full width seat of the same nature, but it's kind of basically the same thing, right? You're essentially talking about an aft-facing bait watching seat. You are already seeing this offered on more and more center consoles. And what I would say is, it's great. I love it. You just want to make sure that you do, in fact, still have the tackle storage that you really feel you need. So if you're looking at a particular boat, that's one thing you don't want to forget about, particularly offshore boats like this Canyon 386. You haul a lot of gear, right? There's a ton of stuff to haul. So just make sure the tackle stowage is sufficient for what you want. All right, Zach, let's go to another boat here and take another peek. Oh, Jay's saying, have you been on the Blackjack boat 256 Coastal? Looked like it would be a good bay boat. You know, Jay, I have not been on the 256. I've been on Blackjacks. They build a good boat. They're definitely solid boats. They're well designed for fishing. They got fishing in mind. That specific model I haven't been on, so I can't really comment on it. I did meet the gentleman who started Blackjack years ago. Gosh, I'm blanking on his name. It's the second boat company he started. He had already built another one from the ground up, and those folks know what they're doing. I wouldn't surprise me a bit if it was a good bay boat. And folks, I forgot to say, throw up those questions at any time in the comments, and Zach will put them up. And that's why we do Live with Lenny, and so we can talk with you as we go. All right, Zach, what's our next boat? Any boat. Oh, the Sportsman. This is the 321 Heritage. And what's interesting here is Sportsman, and I got to say, I'm a big Sportsman fan. And the reason is because they deliver one heck of a bang for the buck. Their boats have solid tech, right? We're talking digital switching. We're talking Seakeeper Ride. They've got the latest and the greatest. And at the same time, they just really tend to underprice the competition. So really, I find them a very solid value. Now, what you get with the Heritage is a full beam bench seat along the stern. Yeah, you can see it in the upper left picture there. It goes full beam. Previously, their Heritages, I forget the exact, they went up to like 26, maybe 25, something like that. Now they go all the way up to this 32, so you can get a bigger model with it. Now you got to recognize, again, we're talking trade-offs here, right? Lots of boats have this full aft bench seat that pushes you forward from the transom a little bit when you're fishing. And often, including in this case, that means the live wells are sort of built in below the seats. So if you're just going on a pure fishing trip, not a big deal. You pull those seat cushions, you leave them at home or in the garage or in your truck or whatever. And you just, easy access. Now, if you've got a bunch of people on board and that's being used for seating and you've got fish baits in the live well, that means you're going to have to pull a seat cushion and sort of fight a little bit to get into the live well every time you use it. If people are sitting back there, you're going to have to ask them to move. So it's not an uncommon trade-off found in a lot of center consoles, a lot of boats in general, where you've got something located under a seat. And it's good, you want it there, but you have to recognize it does mean that if the cushion's there, you're probably going to have to fight a cushion. Some systems are better than others as far as how easy they make it. And if someone's sitting there, you're going to have to ask them to move, right? That's just, it's part of the trade-offs. But this is a new option for you here on a 32-footer. You can now get that kind of design. All right, Zach, let's bop on over to another boat. Much as I do love those sports. Oh, my. Come on. Okay. This is that Phenom. This is the Phenom 43. The boat's just sick. Like, I don't even know where to go with this. The boat's just sick. One thing we saw on here, which I guarantee you other builders are going to start to mimic, and is going to be something that you and me and everybody's going to be looking for in all their boats, is the live well design. Now, what they've done is they put a pressure sensor into the live well. And since this is a digital switching boat, it's a smart boat, right? It can sort of monitor itself. And what it does is it senses the water pressure in the live well and pumps in more or less water, faster or slower, to maintain 0.1 psi. Now, why do we care? There are a couple reasons. The first is if you have a live well that's not pressurized, it sloshes and it beats the baits up. Okay. If you have a live well that is pressurized, often it's too pressurized and water comes sloshing out of the top of the live well. And it's very common on a lot of boats with pressurized live wells. There's just sort of a steady flow of water going over the transom of the boat. It's usually not a huge deal, but if you're the guy sitting right in front of that live well and you hit a wave and the slosh goes forward instead of backwards, you're not in love with it. So it's better for the baits, it's not better for you. In this particular case, with this type of pressurized live well, what you get here is kind of the best of both worlds. When you get where you're going, your baits are going to be in perfect shape. They're not going to be beat up. They're not going to be sloshed around. And you're not going to get wet. Water's not going to come sloshing out of the top. That's just one indication of sort of how far they went with this boat to make it just the most awesomest center console you could ever have. There's a whole lot more to talk about with this boat, but it's not really relevant to this particular conversation. But it's a great indication, and that is a feature that I'll bet dollars to donuts we're going to see that showing up on more and more boats. Particularly as digital switching becomes more and more common. So you have the ability to have that constant monitoring and constant control over the live well. We're going to see that more and more. It's kind of like, does everybody remember how 30 years ago all the live wells were white, and when you got where you're going, half the time your baits were like bloody in the nose, and then somebody figured out you make the interior of the live well blue and the baits are calmer and they stop smashing into the side constantly. And now all the live wells are baby blue inside. That's why. I would bet that in another, 5-6 years, we're going to see more and more live wells like this. Oh man, what a boat. If you go to the boat show, don't miss this one. This is, talk about fantasy boat. All right, Zach, get us to the next one. Get us to the next one. I'm starting to drool. The Magbay 38. Oh my God, another total fantasy boat. And I got to tell you, this one's so pretty. Man, I'd be half scared to swing a weight around on it. Super pretty. Hold that. Wait, go back. Can you hold that shot you had from it? There we go. Thank you, Zach. Here again, we see that aft-facing bait watching seat. That is something that is becoming more and more common when you have a boat where comfort and luxury, and this boat is all about comfort and luxury. It really is. When you've got that, that's where you're going to see that pop. That's where you're going to see that pop up again. Fishing wise, there's not a whole lot of other stuff on this boat that I really want to point to. This boat really, this is all about being the looker, and I find that stainless pipework spectacularly interesting. You don't see that very often. You don't see that often at all. That's really pretty darn rare. And it's the expense. It's the time and the manpower and the expense. Look, if you want a hardcore fish boat for the bay that you're going to beat up and, get all bloody and messy, this is probably not going to be your pick. But if you want that Mona Lisa of fish boats, check that Magbay out. All right, who do we got up next, Zach? The Formula. So here's the thing about the Formula, and this is another performance boat, right? That Formula didn't build fish boats for a long time, and then about 3-4 years ago, they dove back into center consoles, and they make both a cruising variety and a fishing variety. I'm going to say they did a pretty darn good job on making it fishy. Now, the change to this year is bumping up from 450s to those Mercury 500Rs. So, what does that really mean to you and me as anglers? The one thing I want to point out here is it really, top end, unless you're kind of a nut, top end is sort of irrelevant, right? You really should not look for top end all the time, because cruising speed is what really means something to you and me. Now you can cruise at different, you can cruise at 4,000 RPM, you can cruise at 4,500. Some people cruise at 5. I think that's pushing it. That's winding up the motor pretty good. And you're going to see a diminishing return on your fuel economy the harder you push it. 4,500 is generally a really good cruising zone. And, you got to ask, is it worth it to jump up in power on any boat you're looking at, the Formula, any boat? And the answer is a personal one. It really is. What you want to remember is if you get a boat like this where, you can cruise in certainly the mid 40s all day long with no problem at all. Cruise at 50 if you want to push it. What does that really mean? Well, you know what? If you're running offshore, that can mean another hour of fishing in your day. And everybody knows, you guys already know this, there will be days where you don't catch anything for 7 hours. And in a 1 hour time frame, you catch all your fish. So speed is actually one of the reasons that I moved on from my Glacier Bay. I love that boat, but it was 22. Everywhere I went, every sea condition, every day, it was always 22, 22, 22, 22, 22. And I got tired of my buddies being like, hey, at spot X 25 miles away, they're biting right now. I go, great. I'll be there in an hour. They're going to be there in half an hour. And they're going to have a much better chance of catching that bite before it dies out. And so that's one of the main reasons I went to the Caymas, where now I can cruise not quite 40. Usually I cruise at like 38, 37, 38. I can cruise at 40 if I push it. Then I burn a ton of fuel. I only do that when there's a hot bite and I'm really trying to get there. But again, this is a personal choice, but you got to ask yourself when you're looking at that boat, do I want to up those motors another 50 horses, another 100 horses, and get that extra 3, 4, 5, 6 miles an hour cruising speed? But again, look at cruising speed. That's really the variable that counts. Top end is fun. I do wind up the Cayman sometimes. I have a good time with it. It's fun to go fast, but from an angling perspective, look at that cruising speed. All right, who we got next, Zach? The American Custom Catamaran 17. This was super interesting. I have never, ever, 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 ever seen one of these before. And they had one. Oh gosh, Zach, what was the dealer it was at? It was the Contender dealership. Is it? You're muted. You're muted.
Cedar Point.
Cedar Point. Thank you. It was at Cedar Point. And the Cedar Point guys were busy the whole time I was there, and I was trying to get a chance to talk to them and ask them about it, and I never got the chance. I'm going to make sure I do that tomorrow. Spectacularly interesting little boat. Single engine cat, and it was rigged up for the trolling motor on the bow. Small console, but a really interesting console design where it had sort of a 2-level windshield, one for the passenger, one for the driver. And it was a comfortable little boat. It was open. It was easy to walk around. Had a really nice fit and finish. I would really like to get a ride on this boat. Now, why did I want to bring it up from a fishing perspective? Anybody who's known me for years knows that I am a big cat fan. And when it comes to 16, 17, 18, 19-foot boats, even 2022, if you're the kind of guy that wants to go fishing no matter what the weather is, this is what you need to be looking at. I'll bet, I couldn't ride it. It was at the boat show, but I'll bet that this boat rides so much smoother than any monohull the same size. It's kind of a mind blower. And it's why I had the Glacier Bay for years and years and years. When I was in my 30s and 40s, if it was blowing 25 knots, I was like, okay, I'm going fishing. Where am I going to go? And the Glacier Bay could totally do it. I did not get that slam, slam, slam that your monohulls normally deliver. Now, as I aged, I got to the point where I was like, oh God, it's blowing 15 knots. I don't want to. And so, having that kind of ride was no longer quite so imperative. But if you're going to be at the boat show, or even if you're not, if that's what you have in your mind, I'm going fishing, even if it's blowing 20 knots. I don't care. This type of boat is something you want to look at. And there aren't many choices anymore for power cats. You know, I found this. I was psyched to find it. I don't know of anybody right now production building a power cat, single engine power cat of this size. There are a couple little tiny boutique builders here and there, but very few. And then on bigger boats, you know, you've got Twin V and you've got WorldCat. And then you get to the really big, super powerful, much more expensive boats. You know, then you've got your Freemans and your Invincibles, and you've got, you know, several to choose from. Camus has got a couple in the higher size class. But you know, your choices on power kits, not like looking at center console monohull where you got tons and tons to pick from. It's not like that at all. So very interesting little boat. All right, who we got next, Zach? The Maycraft. So look, people, there's nothing spectacularly new here to talk about. I wanted to jump on this boat to close out that video purely because I wanted to, you know, express that it's not just new boats at the show, new models at the show. It's new boats of existing models of all sorts, including boats like this Maycraft. Oh my gosh, you know, I saw Privateer, I saw Robalos. I just don't think there's, you know, a major brand you're not going to find. Now here's Steve. Hey, Steve. Sweet cat, my repower from 70s to 90s brought my cruise speed from 20 to 25. Huge bump for my little cat. So Steve has a 20-foot Nautico. Boat's not built anymore. You can't find a boat like that. Very unique boat. It's got a little cuddy cabin on it. So it's a 20-foot cuddy cat. And that jump from 70s to 90s, that's a 25% increase in his cruising speed. That's kind of a big deal, right? That's major. That's if you're cruising for an hour, you just gained 15 minutes of fishing time, and you gain 15 minutes on the other end when you go home. So you really gain a half an hour of fishing time. If you've only got a couple hours to fish, that's a big deal. Or if you hit that little window, you know, that's a big deal. So it is really something to think about. Zach, did we get through all the boats? I think we might have.
Yeah, I believe so.
Awesome. Now, folks, if you have any questions about any of these boats, anything about, you know, fishing boat design, the equipment, whatever, go ahead and throw those questions up. And in the meantime, we're going to start moving on to the reports. We did want to get to the kind of the current reports of the hot bites going on right now in the region. So, you know, again, if you got the chance, come down and check out the show. You're going to have trouble finding a boat that's not here. we should probably mention this year is the biggest Annapolis Powerboat Show yet. And they like to say that it is the biggest. Of course, you know, a big part of the reason why is they knocked down the Harbor Master building, so they got more room. Pretty cool. Oh, and you can go see a Navy YP boat. The Navy brought a boat this year. It's like a 125-foot training vessel they use at the Naval Academy. And I was aghast when I saw it today. I mean, I was shocked. Zach, do you have that clip? Oh, Zach's gone dark on me.
Yeah.
Let's play that clip real quick.
I don't know where it is. I'll see if I can find it.
Okay, he's gonna look for that clip. It's pretty crazy. These boats are actually wood. Wood. Anybody who's my age will probably remember when we were all running around in wood boats, in marine plywood, right? And I grew up with our family had a 31-foot Trojan marine plywood boat. And basically, you spend March, April, and half of May getting the boat ready to go in the water. You have the water in the boat for like June, July, maybe half of August. Then you got to pull it out and fix all the rot and repaint everything. I mean, it is a maintenance nightmare. That's what we went through to have a boat back then. This thing is 120 some feet long, and it's made of wood. It scares me. Honestly, scares me. Now I know what all those Navy guys do all day long.
All right, here we go.
Go for it.
Now, you and me aren't going to buy this thing, but the Navy has brought over one of the YP boats you can check out at the boat show. Pretty darn cool. I learned something interesting, people. This is wood. This is a wood boat. Can you imagine the maintenance on this thing? I don't even want to think about it.
It is truly scary. It is truly scary. It really is. Wood is a lovely thing to build a boat of if you have no job and nothing to do and all the time in the world. Otherwise, whoo. All right, let's get to the bite, Zach. Why don't you bring up our first pick of the evening here? There's Isaiah. He caught that smallmouth on the Potomac, I believe. Was it the Potomac? I think it was the Potomac. I could be wrong. Might have been the James.
Potomac.
Potomac. Okay. But the river fishing in our area is really good right now. We're getting a lot of reports, a lot of smallmouth, a few walleye are starting to pop up. If you like fishing the rivers, you know, the upper rivers above the fall lines, freshwater, this is a really good time for it. We haven't had a ton of rain, so they're not all swollen and muddy, but we had enough earlier that the water levels are still decent. So it's kind of the, you know, it's sort of perfect timing weather-wise to go and hit these rivers. And now we got fall creeping in, the water's starting to cool off. It really is an excellent time. So if you got the shot, get out there and do it. You know, now is kind of a perfect, awesome time to go out and look for them. Mike's saying many bites this past weekend, indeed. Yeah, it's cranking up. It's cranking up.
And we got that report from Deep Creek earlier.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Walleyes and yellow perch.
Walleyes and yellow perch. What was that? A reader report? I wasn't even sure where that came from.
That was a friend of mine.
What's that?
A friend of mine.
Oh, cool. So they're starting up at Deep Creek. So the timing is right for the fresh water. I find it hard to pull myself away from the bay right about now. But, you know, if you're located out west or if you got the chance to get a shot out there, it's perfect. All right, why don't you go ahead and take us to the next, please? Offshore. So this is Chris with a very nice mahi. I also got a picture from a friend of mine 2 days ago with a fish box absolutely plugged with mahi. They're out there, people, and they're out there thick. There has also been a really good white bite going off. Now, of course, with the storms that have been moving up the coast out to sea, we've had a lot of kind of rough conditions. Not everybody's been able to get out all the time. I'm not sure if that white bite is still going on quite as good as it was. It was kind of epic. You know, it's an overused word. It was a really good bite for a while there. But these dolphin are going to hang out for, you know, hard to say, 2 more weeks, maybe 3. It depends on what the weather does, what the water temperature does. But if you like bailing for these guys or trolling for them, it is prime time. Now, we haven't been hearing about as many inshore as I wish we had. It really has been more of an offshore thing, but they're biting strong. Anywhere you find the lobster gear balls, the poly balls along the edge of the continental shelf is going to be great. Any flotsam you can find should be spectacular. You can chunk for them with just about anything off any structure. My personal favorite, get a bunch of butterfish, hack them up, take some squid, throw the butterfish over, put the squid on a hook, whole squid if the fish are being finicky, a chunk of whatever if they're not, pitch it out there, let it sink down. Usually it does not take long to get a bite. And this is really red hot right now. Awesome time to do it. All right, go ahead and take us to our next bite, please.
Hey, Mike's got another comment on the latest fishing.
Oh, he found the white perch. Excellent. And some mega yellow perch, smattering a nice largemouth. When Dundee, very nice. That's excellent, Mike, because, man, those white perch have, at least in our area, they've been super tough to find this year. In the west, south, Rhodes, Severn, I've heard a lot of people crying throughout the year, really, and the Upper Bay too. And then some sporadically, there have been some little hits and misses. The Magathie has shined at times and then dimmed, and it's been really sporadic, really tough to find these fish. It seemed like they've been clustered up in really small little pockets. And then when you find them, usually they're big ones, but the numbers aren't great. So that's excellent to hear that you got into them. We have been hearing that the upper bay shoals have been holding them. So the oyster bar areas, Belvedere Shoals, 7-foot knoll, 6-foot knoll, areas like that have been having some perch on them. But overall, honestly, I find it a little worrisome. It used to be that you go anywhere and catch perch all the time, and it just has not been that way for a couple of years now. And this year seems to have been, progressively worse. So hopefully it'll get better.
I don't think it has anything to do with the billion pounds of biomass of blue catfish.
There's an awful lot of blue catfish eating an awful lot of everything. Wayne's saying, anyone catching sandhogs? Wayne, I don't think so. Actually, maybe if they cast a little too close and get a little too snagged. Wayne's talking about the lighthouses, and the sandhogs built the lighthouses. And we had an article on that. Gosh, that just went up, I think, not long ago. So if you go to fishtalkmag.com, you can check out Wayne's article on these lighthouses, which talks a little bit about how they're built, how and why they attract fish, how to fish them. It's interesting stuff. And Mike's saying an 1/8-ounce white spinner tied on. Every cast against the grass turned up a fish. Nice. That's awesome. Man, call me next time before you go. I want that. All right, what do we got next, Zach? We got some more hot bites. That's Alex on my boat. That's a pretty fish, isn't it, people? And Alex did a great job. He really worked it, man. I'm telling you, from the moment he stepped onto the boat until the moment he stepped off, the only time he wasn't casting was when we were cruising. And he caught more fish, I think, than anybody else aboard that day. So in the Middle Bay, we do have some new signs of life. It's really nice to see. Thomas Point has been holding fish, both the shoal and the lighthouse. Now, they have been on again, off again. So one day you go there, you catch 7, 8, 10 fish, you have a great time. Another day you go there, nothing. It has been on again, off again. The best time to be there seems to be evening, and often you got to stick there until the very last light. I mean, it's dark out. The last time that I fished the shoal, I was out there so late that we had to stop fishing because we just couldn't see anything anymore. You cast out and be like, where'd I cast? And then you start reeling and you couldn't see anything. 4-inch white paddle tails have been catching fish sometimes. 4-inch, oh gosh, let me get one and show you. Because I forget what it is. It's a Yozori 3D Prism 3DS Minnow 100 SP. And hold up right there. That guy with that lip. See that lip on him? That's been the hot bait. Not just the last week either. It's been a little while running.
Hold that up close again. You were small.
Oh, sorry. There it is. It's the Yozori. And also I've been using Rapala. Gosh, what are they called? Not the shad wrap, the other
X-Wrap.
X-Wrap. Thank you. I was going to say the other wrap. The X-Wraps have also been doing it. For whatever reason, those stick baits, jerk baits, whatever you want to call them, those things have really been hot. And again, they've been great at Thomas Point. Morning, I've been there 2 early mornings. One was great, and one was a complete bust. Nothing bit. So if I was going out, I'd try it briefly, and if nothing happened, I'd keep going, head for another spot, unless it was evening, in which case I would stay there until it was absolutely dark and keep trying. Another highlight has been Eastern Bay. Eastern Bay and also the west side of Poplar has been holding a lot of bait. And there's been a bluefish, decent-sized bluefish, not huge, anywhere from, say, 14 to 18 inches. So, a couple pounds. They've been popping up and churning water here and there. It's been, again, sporadic. That's been more on the tide than the time of day, as far as I can tell. Although I did get a report from a friend the other day that it was evening. It was right at sunset when they blew up. But they've been blowing up around Hullicott's Noose and also off the west side of Poplar, with at times rockfish mixed in, some very nice rocks, some above slot. That's Lower Bay. We're going to get there in one sec, but I do also want to mention we've also had some good reports from the chop tank in the last week, the shallows, daybreak and sunset, but also continuing on a little bit more than we've been seeing up until now. It really hasn't cooled off a heck of a lot, but it's cooled off a little bit, and it's been steady cool. So water temps have been in the low 70s, and the bites are picking up. There is some cool stuff. I'm going to mention two crazy catches I experienced in the Middle Bay this week. One, I caught a black drum, small guy, in the South River, and two, I caught a pinfish. A pinfish, of all things, which I've never caught north of Point Lookout, and sure haven't caught many of ever in Maryland's portion of the bay. But here's the crazy thing: it was like, how do I get both my hands on there? I can't make my hands big enough. It was like a pound-and-a-half fish. It was right around 10 inches and super fat, shaped like a football. A pinfish. It was a Thomas Point lighthouse on the rocks. And I threw a sabiki with a bloodworm in there to see what was there, just because some cool stuff turns up there, sometimes at this time of year. A pinfish. Go figure. All right, so let's go. Give me that shot back, please, Zach. That's our Lower Bay shot. That's Eric and his buddy Dennis. The Lower Bay bite recently, down by the target ships, has been pretty darn fantastic for bluefish in this, we used to call them Taylor blues when I was a kid. Sort of those mid-range. They're not small, they're not choppers, but they're like, 3, 4, 5, 6 pounds. Nice fish, great fight. And it's been a really interesting bite near the target ships, sort of all around in that vicinity. And these fish, sometimes they do come up and churn water, but sometimes you'll see them on the meter halfway down in like 20, 25 feet of water. And Eric's been throwing top water, and it brings them up. They will come up and smack that top water. So, excuse me, I know he had at least one day in the last week where they caught like 30 fish on top water, even though they weren't breaking water. Those fish were down at mid-depth, and they were throwing out top water baits and bringing them up. So that's a pretty cool way to enjoy a bite. He's also been getting them on toothproof paddle tails. And he was at Piney Point today and sent me a picture of all the chopped plastics he had. He wasn't looking for blues, but that's what he was finding. Now, they were much smaller up there. There have been rockfish. Colonial Beach has been a good zone for the rockfish lately. Down at Point Lookout, in the mouth of the river, it sounds like it's really been kind of back and forth. Like Eric's gone there quite a few times recently, and it sounds like one trip he'll find some rockfish, one trip he'll find bluefish, another trip he'll catch puffers and lizardfish. It's just been sort of all over the place. Farther down in the Lower Bay, now we're talking Virginia waters. We're getting down to the Piankatank, the Rappahannock, those zones, the James. They're starting to see a better speck bite. So that's super nice to hear. And they're getting slot reds too. The slot reds appeared a little bit in Maryland waters, but certainly nothing like last year. Still haven't been hearing a ton about specks, just kind of a couple here and there. But when you get down to the Rap, the Piankatank, farther south, now you're really into the speck and red zone, and they have been biting good. We're getting some reader reports of limit catches of slot reds with a handful of specks on top of them, which is pretty darn nice in my opinion. So if you got the chance to get out in that zone right now is a really good time. All right, do we have any more pictures, or did we cover sort of the hot bites there?
Well, I don't know. This one's in there, but I'm not sure why.
Oh, yes. We didn't cover the Tangier yet. Tangier, Pocomoke, Lower Eastern Shore. So, Zach, why don't you give us the report from that zone since you were down there most recently?
We fished the Tangier Classic, Eric Packard and I. I just have a little skiff, so I can't really make too many waves on the water. So we fished locally, Annapolis, Janes Island, Cedar Island, south of Crisfield. This fish, we actually decided to drop some crab on the CCA reef site, which is a ton of block. I mean, it was really easy to find on the Humminbird side scan. It's just right on the channel edge out from Crisfield. And we caught sea bass, bluefish, and this is like the biggest freaking toad I think I've ever caught. It ate a half of a crab. It literally swallowed half the crab. It was just gone. It was down his throat. I was like, oh my God.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's your
but,
PB
we were
toad
looking
fish.
for drum. We were hoping there would be some drum lurking around down there. Some big drum did get caught. I saw CL Marshall's team got some nice ones, and I'm predicting a lot of those drum are caught a little further south. Matt Baden caught a 28-inch speck. Again, he was fishing Virginia waters. That's a big speck for Chesapeake Bay. So congrats to all you guys that placed in the tournament. It was a great time. They raised a ton of money for always supporting a local family. They pick a recipient every year, and we're talking 5 figures that they support these families. 50% of the tournament proceeds go directly to a family in need, with a child who needs some support. So kudos to Brad and Adam and those guys down there. They put on a great event. I hope to go again.
Now, did you take this toadfish home and eat it?
No, you told me you ate a toadfish once, and it was slightly mushy.
Yeah, they're icky. I don't like them.
So we caught a ton of little specks, ton of little bluefish. I actually brought home a few and smoked them up. They were delicious, and yeah. The water was a little turned up. It was a windy week, so the shallows where we intended to target specks was just a bit muddy. It was just the water clarity wasn't there. We had a lot of grass beds and and the lizard fish galore. I don't know how many we caught, but I lost count.
There has been a lizard fish invasion this year. There really has.
Even all the way up here in the Annapolis area. I mean, the first lizard fish I ever caught was actually at Janes Island about 10 years ago. And then we caught a few down at Cape Charles, Chesapeake area last couple of years, I think. But I've never seen them this far north.
There have been a ton of them this year. Clear up. I've caught them up certainly as far as Poplar. They are, and the numbers of them. It's just been huge. It's been massive. But as you mentioned, too bad there wasn't an ugly fish category.
Thanks, Will. Appreciate it.
I like them. I think they're super cool, really. I have one in my fish tank, and I love them.
Do they eat your oysters?
No, and people call them oyster crackers, and maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know. They have trouble with hard stuff, like even a hard crab. I have to kind of crunch it up for him to really eat it all the way. I'm not sure they can actually bite through an oyster. Maybe they like nibble the mini oysters before they really form a big hard shell.
Well, this guy ate half of a peeler crab, so I mean, it was pretty hard.
He looks pretty big. You might have caught the new world record toadfish.
It was heavy. Anywho, well, thanks for letting me revel in my glory. Hey, Matthew had a few comments here, and I think we'll share these with CCA. For the invasive count, it would be nice if we could opt in and share location, and I believe it does actually get your location, but it does not share it with the community. But that is a great idea. If you want to share your location, you know what I mean? So Ted could be saying, hey guys, I caught 100. He just emailed us, said he caught 100 blue cats the last month or two. Wow. So no wonder he keeps winning these invasive prizes. He's got a ton of interest. But,
so the scientists do get the location data, but
the users should.
What's that?
He's suggesting the users, people who register,
right,
that map as well.
it would be nice if you could opt in. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm sure
We'll
that
share that feedback.
I'm sure they originally made it so that only the scientists got it, so that people wouldn't be afraid of giving away their hotspot. I'm sure
Yeah.
that's why they did that. But there are other apps where you do exactly that. You have the choice. You can say, yeah, share this with everybody, or no, keep it secret.
Yeah.
So that is a good idea. Well, you know what? We should make sure we pass that along.
Yeah, I believe Trevor from the trolling depth calculator has just come up with a sort of an app that does that. You create when you become a friend with someone on it's sort of a fishing report / social media. Your friends get to see where you caught your fish, and you get to choose who you're networked with. So it's kind of a cool idea. I don't have the name of that app on hand, but it is available on the Google Store and the Apple Store. I don't know if it's on the Pi phone yet or not. Is that a real thing? Yeah, never mind. Don't worry about it.
Never heard of that one. All right, folks, we are at an hour. If anyone's got any questions, be sure to pop them up there right now. Mike's saying he's afraid of giving away a blue cat hotspot. Jeez. Yeah, Mike, I think most of us are in agreement on that. Now, but with the snakeheads, I can totally see it because some guys are really into the snakeheads.
Yeah, there's a huge release snakehead movement, because they don't seem to be as the boom is over, and they've sort of seems to naturalized in some way. But I'm sure they still have an effect on indigenous fish, regardless of that fact. But I haven't caught one this year, and I've certainly tried, and I've seen them, and they just stare at me, and they look me in. One of them looked me in the eye. It just looked into my soul and said, "Not today."
Yeah, they definitely do seem to have naturalized and acclimated and sort of smoothed out much more rapidly than we're seeing with the blue cats.
Yeah, well, they don't grow to 100 pounds.
It's true. Nor do they eat clams and crabs and fish and anything.
John's saying he scored his winning blue cat in the upper Patuxent based on one of your reports.
Oh, nice. That's excellent, John.
Very cool. We hit the Potomac Patuxent a few weeks ago, and we only ended up with 4 catfish. It was a
slow
day. I just don't think we had the current we needed. They weren't moving. It was kind of.
Yeah, but they are in. There's tons of them in there.
Mike's heading to Blackwater. I haven't been there in a few years, but what I like to do, Mike, I have a kayak just like yours, and some of the areas where it's a little more open, I'll throw a kayak out behind me while I cast shoreline, and I've doubled up that way. You just see the rod go
behind you.
Yeah, so I'm sort of slow trolling a minnow behind me.
Throw a minnow out behind you.
Yeah, but then I'm throwing frogs and paddle tails at the shoreline.
Okay.
Yeah.
Zach, you're garbling your words today, man.
That's funny. I'm not. Don't even have.
I know why. I know it's because you were half the day yesterday setting up the booth in Annapolis, and then all day today pounding the docks in the sunshine, trying to shoot video, then trying to tack it all together before this.
Yeah.
I know it was an intense day.
I haven't even had an adult beverage, so that's weird. Lenny caught a big blue cat right by there like 2 years ago, perch fishing.
Mount Calvert? Oh my God. That's my PB. It was 46, I want to say. I don't think it wasn't 50. But it was right there. It was literally, I don't know, 200 yards from that launch.
Wayne's in Lighthouse Real Estate if you want to buy Smith Point and fish out your window. I think Wayne should buy it and have Team Fish Talk out for a evening.
Hey, come on, Wayne.
All right. Well, we're at the boat show. Again, if you didn't hear earlier, Lenny's giving seminars at the boat show in the seminar tent, which is between the Annapolis Yacht Club and the Annapolis Waterfront Hotel. It's in that upper parking lot there on the Compromise Street entrance of the show. That's 2 to 2:45 Friday and 2 to 2:45 Saturday.
Yep.
Prop Talk's having our big anniversary party tomorrow at 5 p.m. at Land 22. Anyway, we hope you guys will come down to the show. It looks like a beautiful weekend, and come down, meet the team, and check out some boats. Or I think Lucky and Blessed Fishing is there as well, so check out them. Look into their tournament, and yeah, I think I'm going to sign up because I know I'm going to rock fish, and if I catch 3 nice rockfish,
there you go. All right. Well, thank you, Zach. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. If you do go to the boat show, make sure you come on by and say hi. And hey, Rocktober's here, people. It is time to go fishing.
Good night, everybody.